By now, you probably know that Creationist Ken Ham and his Answers in Genesis ministry are about to open Ark Encounter, better known as the Noah's Ark theme park. Essentially, this $100 million park wants to convince you that the story of Noah building the ark, inviting two of every living creature onto it, and then rebuilding society is literally true. I just have a couple of questions about that. Where did Noah find enough wood in the Middle East to build a ship of that size? Where did Noah even learn how to build a ship? Who taught him? How did the ancient Egyptians need a whole army of slaves to build the pyramids, but Noah just needed his 3 sons to build the ark? How did a family of 8 care for all those animals? Why did a loving, caring God have to kill off all but 2 of every living creature? And how did he decide which ones made the cut? I mean, what did those other llamas ever do to him? Assuming God killed off all the other people except Noah's family, doesn't that mean he murdered a whole bunch of unborn babies? And if God can do it, how come the religious right says women today can't? Where did Noah's Ark go? We've never found the remains. Not on Mount Ararat, not anywhere. Since the story of Noah's Ark wasn't written down for thousands of years after it happened, isn't it safe to assume that the authors may have gotten some stuff wrong? I mean, the gospel writers couldn't agree on the details of Jesus' life, and they wrote that stuff mere decades after he died. Why does the story of Noah's Ark so closely resemble the Epic of Gilgamesh? They're practically identical stories, but they're not talking about the same event. We shouldn't even think about Noah's Ark as a story about obeying God and saving the world. We should just think of it as the world's most famous example of plagiarism. Where's the evidence of a global flood that large only 4,000 years ago? Because we have evidence of dinosaur fossils, we know dinosaurs had to have been on that ark too. How the hell did they fit on there? How did the meat-eating animals not eat all the other animals? What did all those animals eat, if not each other? And where was all the food stored? And how did it stay fresh for a year without a refrigerator on board? Did the animals go to the bathroom at all during the year-long journey? And if so, where did it all go? How did Noah's family not get all sorts of diseases, given that there had to have been like huge piles of shit building up on the ark? How did Noah collect the tens of millions of insect species alone, especially when a lot of those species don't live anywhere close to each other geographically? Who inspected the insects to make sure you had one male and one female? How did they get the koalas from Australia and the penguins from Antarctica to come to the Middle East? And after the flood, how did those animals get back there? How did they get all the animals onto the ark that quickly? With all the species they needed to bring on the ark in a limited amount of time, and snails moving as slow as snails do, how did they all get on board that fast? I mean, what was the pacing here? How come when people draw pictures of the ark, they never include the plants? Because there had to be a ton of plant species aboard the ark in order to survive. They wouldn't have been able to live in the water alone. Which animals on the ark had lice? Because, those are living things too. What about gonorrhea? Which family member brought that along for the ride? How did ants survive? I mean, they need a whole group of them to survive together because they all have specialized tasks. It's not like 2 of them can just hang out on a boat by themselves just waiting for a year to procreate. It doesn't work like that. Genetically speaking, how is it possible that we have all this human diversity that we see today if we just started out with Noah's family a few thousand years ago? Natural selection doesn't work that quickly. Assuming creatures who live in the water stayed there and didn't get on board the ark, wouldn't a global flood of that magnitude lasting for a year have damaged their ecosystem in some way? After the flood ended, how did these animals survive long enough to reproduce? I mean, there are so many things that had to happen. They had to survive this year-long trip, then they had to reproduce, then they had to reproduce again to guarantee the propagation of the species. I mean, that's not easy for elephants and other creatures with these long gestational periods, and if anything went wrong, the whole plan would have been screwed. The Bible says rainbows didn't exist before the flood, but that would mean that there was no rain or no sun. So, which is it? Who had time to plant all the plants after the flood? Where did all the water go after the flood? Other civilizations lived in the same time period as when creationists believed the flood actually happened. So how come all of their recorded history, all of their documentation that we have, doesn't have any mention of this global flood? It's almost like the whole story was just made up. Huh. My name is Hemant Mehta, and I write at friendlyatheist.com. What do you want to see a video about? Let us know in the comments below, and we'll be sure to check it out. And don't forget to subscribe.